I get a lot of emails and questions via Facebook and my website about which size Indian clubs should I buy first. And this video is about exactly that, and it's about my story and how I started and what clubs I started with and how I progressed and so on. Hi, my name is Paul Wolkowinski, and this is about which size of Indian clubs should I buy first. And I thought I'd make a video about my personal experiences with buying Indian clubs, and in fact it's more rather than making them rather than buying them, because in Australia there were, at the time when I first started, there was nobody making clubs or selling them. So these clubs here is the ones on this lower shelf that I want to talk about. These ones here are my original CJ1s, which you can find the patterns for the CJ1, 2, 3 and 4 in a book written by Cobbett and Jenkin in 1905 or 1907, I forget exactly which date. And there are templates in that book, and this was the first. I got very excited when I found this, found a wood turner here in Perth, and had these clubs made up. Now the Cobbett and Jenkin club is a very long club. It's 26 inches long, so it's very, very long from top to toe. And this is the first club that I started swinging, and I suddenly found myself running into a few problems with it, which I'll describe a little bit later on. So then I realised that I actually did turning when I was at school, so I bought a lathe and made these as a second pair. Now these are all in pine, by the way, these first three clubs. So this one is a 24-inch club because I realised that this one was too long, so I made a 24-inch club and messed around a little bit with the handle, still used the Cobbett and Jenkin button on the end, and then progressed to a 23-inch version, which is lighter still. So I mean, as far as weights go, this one is 2.5 pounds, the second one's 2 pounds, this one is 1 pound 12 ounces. And as you can see, I've put a sphere type pommel onto it instead of a button. Now this club was a revelation to me. First of all, it's lighter, 1 pound 12 ounces, and shorter, 23 inches. And I suddenly found myself, with all the work and the prep that I'd done and learning how to swing circles and so on, I suddenly found myself completely in control with this lighter club, and I discovered that I could work on my grips. So what I mean here is that, for instance, you know, I became very proficient at switching from the hammer grip to the saber grip to the ring grip. We'll start with just those three. So and swinging circles and doing you know, combinations of movement in the sense that I'm switching from one circle to another became very, very easy, and my motor skills improved a lot. So I think that's what I'm trying to say, is my motor skills really improved with this club. Then from there, the next progression was, I thought, well, okay, so from there I went to making a heavier club in a denser wood. This wood is called a jarrah, which is very dense. It's a West Australian wood from the south, and very, very heavy, and it makes a heavier club. Now the interesting thing, this is very important here, because basically you don't want the size of a club to grow much, much bigger. You want the weight, the size, the overall size, the mass to stay the same, but the weight to increase. So this is why I use this wood. And this club is 3 pounds. So with everything that I'd learnt and the skills that I'd sort of developed using the third Cobbett and Jenkin version that I'd made, I made the fourth one, which was the jarrah version, which is one of my favourite clubs, the Copper Band Club. And from there, I've progressed again. And this one you can see now there's a 2-inch jump here. So this one is actually 20 inches long. And the weight has dropped, obviously, because it's shorter. So this is 3 pounds, this is 2.5 pounds. So it's kind of funny here because this is like it's gone round in a circle. This one started off at 2.5 pounds, and now I've got a shorter Jarrah version of 20 inches, and it's 2.5 pounds. And this, as far as I'm concerned, is the ideal weight for a lot of club work that I do, and a lot of the manipulations, because it's challenging and it swings really well, and it suits my style, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. And it's something for you to consider as you get your first clubs and you learn a few circles, and then you progress and you get better. You have to play around with the weights of the clubs and also the length to a certain degree. I mean, not everybody's going to be fortunate enough to make them as I've been able to, but it just gives you a bit of an insight into the various different lengths and proportions of clubs that you're going to come across. So I hope that gives you a little bit of an insight there. And now I'm going to go into giving you a demonstration of some of the first two circles, which is a straight arm circle, and the back circle, which is a closed arm circle, and some of the problems that I ran into those circles with the longer clubs first. Then I'll just talk about the things that happened to me. Again, it's just giving you information about what to look out for and what to be aware of. So I'm going to switch camera angles now and we'll carry on. So now that we've gone through and I've given you an introduction into my clubs, I'm going to go back to my original Cobbett and Jenkins, because I want to describe to you some of the problems that I had with this club. And but to do that, I have to show you first of all two circles, which I'm going to describe to you, and they're basically the basis of a lot of Indian club movements, these two circles. So the first circle is the straight arm circle from here, and the straight arm circle swings through and comes up to the top again. So basically it's the whole idea of this circle is that it's pivoting from the shoulder here, so your arm and the club become one. So in fact, the length of the club is not just the physical length of the club here, it's your arm and the club. So suddenly, if you compare the club to my arm, I mean roughly 26 inches both, I mean we're looking at a very, very long club here, 52 inches. And the circle is there. This is a circle. Nothing else. And of course that circle can be done this way. There's another very interesting thing about this that you should know, and I get often also asked the question, why are Indian clubs fairly lightweight? A lot of heavy lifters and so on get quite upset when I say, you should be starting with a 2 pound club. And this is one of the reasons why. And this explanation is big thanks to and call out to Andreas Wolkowinski in South Africa, because he helped me really get my head around this and worked out this sort of rough formula for this. So again, as we're saying, the pivot point is here on my shoulder, my arm and the club now are one. This club weighs 2.5 pounds here. As the club drops to the floor and the gravity accelerates the club coming down, the weight quadruples. It's 4 times that, so it's 10 pounds in this particular case. So 2.5 pounds, 10 pounds at the bottom, 2.5 pounds, 10 pounds at the bottom. If I put the club down like this, hold it down here, it's 2.5 pounds. But the gravitational acceleration through into the floor and then back out again, so the club basically starting up here, 2.5 pounds, getting heavier, 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 10 pounds at the bottom, getting lighter, lighter, lighter at the top. Okay, so that's just an insight of it's an ever-changing weight that you're looking at with Indian clubs. They're not static in weight, so you've got a gravity thing and you've got to be able to pull against that weight as you swing the clubs. Now the second circle, The second circle is the back circle, and I'll give you a demonstration of the back circle facing you, and then I'll turn around and do it from the back. The back circle basically is here, behind the head. And that's the inward version. Now with this, the weight changing in this is completely different because the club here is pivoting from my wrist, as you can see. So we don't have as much of a drop as with a straight arm. And in this particular case with the back circle, the weight doubles. So it goes from 2.5 pounds, 5 pounds at the bottom, and then back up to 2.5 pounds. And here's the back circle with the back view. So the outward version, and the inward version. So 2.5 pounds, 5 pounds, 2 pounds, 5 pounds, 2 pounds. So you can see that there's changes happening here all the time. So the front circle and the back circle now can be put together into what's called the heart-shaped swing. And if you don't know what the heart-shaped swing is, you can go to the indianclubsacademy.com, and I have a free 7-video course there, and you can learn how to do this in detail. It's fully explained, 7 videos, and they specifically take you through to a small routine on using the heart-shaped swing. But to start off with, if we start from up here, the heart-shaped swing does a front circle and a back circle. Front and back. Okay, so now you've got the weight changes that you're dealing with is 2.5 pounds to 10 pounds at the bottom, and then 2.5 pounds at the top, 5 pounds at the back. So it's an ever-changing weight. Now, let me go into the problems that I found with the long clubs. So the length has a huge amount to play. And as you can see, I'm going to give you a demonstration. This club comes to the top of my shoulder. So it's too long for me, basically. And so now, if I take both these clubs and do a heart-shaped swing with both sides, you'll see that starting from the Y position here, as the clubs come out, they cross over here, and if I keep my hands in closer to my head, knocking. Now the knocking can ricochet and hit the back of your head, so it's very, very important that you choose the right pair of clubs, which I'll show you in a minute, to prevent that from happening. So there's number one. So my solution when I first started with these is to turn them away here. So my hands, you see the pivot points changing, the pivot point's here. So the clubs are there. Now look at the difference. If I go to the 2.5 pounders, these are 20-inch, 2.5 pound clubs, same weight, shorter length. Now here, I can keep my hands in here, and you can see that I'm creating a rectangle with my elbows and the clubs behind my head. That is correct. So that means I can get nice elevation here and swing correctly. Just going back to these ones again, long clubs. I mean, I can still do the swing and stretch out at this point here, but it's completely different, and it's actually putting a lot more stress onto my arm. So whether that's good or bad, I mean, it's something that's very personal. It's subjective. You've got to decide which is the right one for you. Now, other things that happen. So we've got the length, and is the crashing and knocking behind. And also one day, unfortunately for me, and this basically has happened twice in 9 years. So I mean, don't get put off about it. But one day I was swinging through, and for some reason the club basically hit me on the ankle here. And I just got it wrong, and I still think it was because the club was too long for me, and I was a novice, definite rookie, and wasn't really paying attention, and the chances of hitting yourself are much more enhanced if the club's too long. if I do the same movement here, you can see, the clubs, it's easier to throw the clubs forward in front of the body. I'm talking about here. And you've got to be aware of that, and you've got to do that. And the chances are then that the club is going to hit you on your calf rather than on your ankle, as it did with me. Created a huge blood blister. I had to have it cauterized, and basically it was just a nasty experience. So you can basically, with the length of the club, you've got to choose the right length. Now, I'm just going to lay the 20-inch club onto my arm from this position here, and you can hear it comes just past the center of my biceps. Okay, whereas the long club comes to the top of my shoulder. So you can see there's a big difference here, and I'll hold them like this so you can see. So for me, for my build, this is the correct one. The weight is also something that suits me. Some of you might find that you swing heavier clubs and so on. Now, there's another thing with the circles that we need to have a look at. Now, I just wanted to talk a bit about the weight and the handling capabilities of a long club. Yes, you can handle it, it's fine, but now you've got to bear in mind that with the circle that we've just done, the straight arm circle, you want to be able to stop like this. Now, and then maybe at that point there, do a wrist circle here. Now, I can do this now. 9 years ago, there's just no way that I could do it. Really, really important to understand that, because we have the circle, that's the third circle I've shown you now, which is called a wrist circle. So this is basically a back circle. This one on a straight arm here is called a wrist circle. Okay, and you can see clearly my hand allowing the club to go into the ring grip here that I showed you earlier on. So, but the most important thing is, with clubs is the fact that from here you need to be able to stop here. Now, finally, when you're choosing clubs, there's a test that you can do, and I've just touched on that in the previous section. What I'd like to show you is actually the test that I would really recommend that you do. Put one hand on your hip in between your rib cage and the top of your pelvis. Hold one club like this with your third finger on the ball of the club. And now, when feet shoulder width apart, and just literally swing the club like this. And you should be able to swing the club about 15 times. If you're starting to struggle and you can't lift the club up here, or you're finding that it's pulling too much on this side, it means that the club is too heavy. You need to go for something lighter. So for somebody who's got a slighter build, like some ladies maybe, you need to look at a 1 pound club, 1.5 pounds. With gents, 2 pounds basically I would recommend is the best weight to start with. So going back to the tests. So the swing test. The swing test is basically swing away from you. 1, turn the body through. So you've got a transverse turn. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, stop at the top and reverse it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now, when you do that test, you'll be able to feel how heavy the club feels by the floor and how light it becomes up at the top. So in its flight path up about here, it's almost weightless. And then you transfer the weight to this position overhead and you can feel the 2.5 pounds there. Now, another test for you, which is very important and is best done with 2 clubs. So we'll just go for the second one. Is a slow moving test to test how your arms are pivoting basically. So you raise the club slowly here, hold them for a second, up to here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Put them down. Now again, you should take that up to about 15 reps and make sure that you can do them comfortably. If you're finding that the clubs are feeling really, really heavy, go down to a smaller size, okay? Now I also feel that I need to mention something here about if you have previous injuries or current injuries that you're having to deal with, and hopefully you're seeing a medical practitioner about them. It is really, really important that before you start, you see a medical practitioner and tell them what you're going to do. And from my point of view, I would recommend that you start with the lightest club. That means a pound. Even if a pound is a problem, as it has been for some people that I've known over the years, even a half-pound club. Now what I'm talking about here is this is even less than that. This is what's called a Teardrop Club. It's about 18 inches long, and this club basically, it's still going to give you the pressure at the end, because I can still feel the weight pivoting from my shoulder here, straight arms. You can still do these circles, and the mobility and so on should help your shoulder. But again, you have to see a medical practitioner to make sure that they think that the exercise regime, that if you're going to do one with Indian clubs, is going to be of benefit to you, and it's not going to hurt you into the future. Okay. And finally, for everybody who's able-bodied, I'm going to stress, if you're starting with Indian clubs, and even if you're advanced, and I consider myself advanced with Indian clubs, 9 years into it, I still actively use 2 pound and 2.5 pound clubs to this day. Although I swing heavier clubs, as you can see behind me, the Persian Meals, the Cobbett and Jenkin heavy clubs and so on, and I also use the mace and those are heavy. Those are up to 14 kilos that I've got here. But as far as Indian club work is concerned, 2 pounds, 2.5 pounds is plenty, because it's not the exercise that will injure you. If anything happens, it's the weight of the club that will injure you if it's too heavy for your current physical condition at the time. And I want to just sort of touch on the difference here between linear exercise and things like yoga and stretching. This is completely different because it's circular. So basically it's allowing you to stretch out to the top, take hold of the weight as it's coming down to below you, and then release the weight and just feel the normal weight at the very, very top. So it's moving all your joints. So we have basically, there are three pivot points in Indian clubs. There's the circle, which is this one, which I've shown you. There's the elbow circle, which is here. And then the wrist circle, which I've also shown you there. Every single one of these circles has a different weight change and a different balance. Now, if you do a short routine, which I'm just going to finish off with now, you can see that the club changes and does, it will change weight at different points of a routine. And this is just basically an outward heart shape with one circle at the back, and then I'll add in a straight arm wrist circle at the sides here, so you can see what I'm talking about. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now that gives you, there are lots of circles. There are 5 basic circles in Indian clubs, and they can be both done inwards and outwards. The variety that you can produce from that is just amazing. It never ceases to amaze me even to this day. And I keep finding new variations that I can do simply because I've built up and I've basically, in a very long-winded way, if you like, gone from such a long club, but it was my first club. I had to get it started. And I shortened them and finally found the length. And the funny thing to me is now that a lot of clubs were made about 18 to 20 inches. All the old books say 18 to 20 inches, apart from Cobbett and Jenkins, who liked this particularly long club. And I've done a complete turnaround. So finally I ended up with my favourite length was 20 inches. And these clubs are just my favourites. So there you go. Hopefully that'll help you have a few insights into how to choose your clubs and get the best out of them, which is the biggest fun thing. I mean, it'll keep you occupied for a long time, believe me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to, please comment. I'd love to hear what you think about it, and if you have any questions, please ask me below this video and I'll try and answer them as soon as I can. Thanks for watching.